Revolution for the hell of it. We slip and we slide, and oh how gradually and how quickly we decline. How quickly we forget, how quickly we throw away all that we have. Caught in a vortex of dissatisfaction brought on by an incredible inability to see how good things actually are. And being bored and being lazy and being hollowed out from the inside by having all our needs catered to, we manufacture drama in order to bring points into an existence deemed as pointless by a refusal to see the point right in front of us. We slip, wiggle and slide and crawl on the ground like the worms we are as we deny ourselves the pleasures of sitting back and just sitting, doing, being, enjoying. Seeing reality manifested as brutality where no brutality exists. Causes to fight for are not causes to fight for. They are manifestations of an insane need to fill an unseen hole dug out in the chasm that is our chests and beating hearts. Somehow, we have got to struggle, don't you know? There's got to be some cause to fight for, some glorious unifying ideal which we can hide behind and mine manufactured outrage from to fill an odd desire emanating from something. Is this the breaking point? Is this the point of no return? Is this the point upon which the West slides into decadence and hedonism, with no cause, reason, dreams and aspirations, but a brilliant poster hanging on the wall of disgruntled college students demanding revolution for the sake of revolution, having no idea what that entails? I'm bored today. Time to bring the entire system crashing down for no other reason than it giving me something to do. Burn it down, you bastard, burn it down. Make it all crash and make it all burn. And from the ashes a fantabulous utopia shall arise, where all are equal except those who are not equal. The proles will still walk the streets in gin-laden haze dreams, and Big Brother will still be watching every step and every breath. And face crime, thought crime, nonsense words and newspeak come screaming towards us in mad, perplexing dreams. When the thought police come crashing through your doors for misgendering someone on Twitter, you know you've reached the pinnacle of equality. My, what a beautiful, glorious, unifying collective pipe dream you've got going there. All opinions are valid, and all should be allowed to speak their mind. Excepting those whose opinions goes against my mirror mind, of course. Hate speech is not free speech, and free speech sure as hell ain't nothing but hate speech. See how that works? Grumble, grumble, slip, slide, bullshit, artist and confidence trickster. Hide your solipsist need for censorship behind a paywall of unchallenged kindness as much as you want. It ain't nothing but egotistical demands for controlling the discourse. Control, censor, remove. This one. It was this one, officer, I swear. He looked at me funny through Twitter. Removing from my sight at once. Off with his head! It should be worrying to anyone that they come for the clowns and the comedians. The jesters are not safe anymore. The fools have all been slain, and the satirists are gagged and bound in re-education camps. At the very least, they did manage to rid the world of the Nazi pug death squads. I am happy to report that I finally feel safe walking the streets again, knowing that I will not be subject to the perplexed sniffles and grunts of uniformed pugs wobbling along in groups. Never again shall we suffer the horrors that was the night of the long whines. Context? Nah, never mind, no matter. You wanted to gas the juice, remember? Shit, come to think of it, am I in trouble now for writing gas the juice? Probably. If my blog goes down and my YouTube channel disappears, you know they've come for me as well. It was a good run. Catch you later. It will be better once I have been re-educated. 30 lashes in the town square for that one, boy. Yes, sir, thank you very much. I deserve this. What do you mean I'm not grovelling enough, sir? I do the best grovelling I can. Gas the guys. Is that better? Some years back, the virtuous hive mind of impeccable virtue and grace and style and intelligence came for a men's group on Facebook, over here in the frozen wastes of Norway. It was a fascinating display of moral panic, the likes of which I had not seen in quite some time. This group for men was made for the sole reason of sharing non-PC humor, as opposed to NPC humor. And you all know what that entails. The horror, the travesty, the foul misogyny of men gathering in packs to hunt down and slay the women's and the children's, whilst chomping on cigars, twirling their moustaches and saying harumph a lot. It was a grand unifying meeting of the patriarchy, where the true oppressive nature of men reared its ugly head and bared its fangs for all the world to see. Their crimes were so heinous that I hardly dare mention them. For me, the trauma is still real. The hurt and the wounds will never fully heal. It is as though I have been stabbed in the heart with a Morgul blade. Every week, the horrors of that Facebook group haunts me. Some nights I can still hear the screams. They never leave me. Hellish visions of such depravity and torture that I think anyone who encountered it will never fully heal. Their crime? Telling crude jokes about pedophiles. The whole moral panic began with a blog post written by some woman who just had a baby. A woman so stunning and so brave that she dared infiltrate this nest of filthy misogynists and rapists in waiting, disregarding her own safety. And what a blog post it was. She began the entire thing with, and I am paraphrasing here, "So there I sat, with my newborn son on my lap. Already we should be horrified." A clear appeal to emotion. She then went on to outline the horrors of the jokes, and how this impacted her and her son, who was so sweet and innocent, lying there on her lap whilst she browsed Facebook looking for something to be offended by, so as to attract readers to her blog. Whoops, sorry, I strayed from the script. I'll do my best to crawl back into the lap of gorgeous conformity of thought and morality. She went on, in her stunning and brave blog post, to outline the horrible jokes she had seen within. Jokes so foul and horrible as to wreak havoc on the green and sacred fields of the hallowed earth upon which we had tread up until this point. Fields that were now besmirched and ruined by the creepy crawling of jokes and humour so crude and offensive as to deconsecrate the fields and turn them into rotting marshes. They might as well have salted the earth so that nothing would ever grow again. I can't remember the jokes. I will absolutely admit that they were crude, that they were offensive. Seeing as that was the whole point of the group in question, I struggled to comprehend why this was so shocking to this stunning and brave woman. But there you have it. In this blog post, she posted courageous screenshots of the jokes as well as the perpetrators of the jokes. Full names and all, obviously at the expense, yet again, of her own emotional safety. She told that she had no qualms in showing their full names, because they deserved all they could get. Those were her words. 50 lashes in the town square, death and dismemberment, social ostracizing, being put in the laughingstock and publicly shamed. They deserved it all, for the crime of telling crude jokes in a private group on Facebook, which she infiltrated. Were I cynical, I might say that the entire reason for her doing this was to attract followers to her blog. Were I cynical, I might say that she was looking for something to be offended about, so as to offend others and turn them on this group. Were I cynical, I might say that this was nothing but a grab for attention on her part, a quest to show her moral superiority and boost her superficial ego at the expense of someone she did not know, whose crimes amounted to nothing but telling crude jokes. But I am not cynical. I am not allowed to be cynical by the moral crusaders. I must at all times be offended and show my moral superiority. Reason has no place here. This is the current year, after all. Following her original blog post, everyone was up in arms for weeks about this travesty. How dare these men tell jokes? And the shaming began. The newspaper articles, the politicians, the Facebook hangers-on and various and sundry all showed up in uniform groups to show their solidarity and their morality, to showcase their virtue and dignity, and to shame anyone who dared go against the narrative of these men being evil incarnate for telling crude jokes. Whilst the original blog post and writer of said piece, who very clearly invited violence upon these foul perpetrators of humorous assault through her saying that they deserved all they could get, and thus clearly broke the law of the land, was painted as a whistleblower of immense grace, moral purity and virtue, for some strange and inexplicable reason. The fact that a website with a forum dedicated to and focused on women had hosted for years 2 threads on said forum with titles such as "Share Your Most Offensive Jokes," wherein lied hidden the same crude jokes that were shared within this horrible den of misogyny and rape were mentioned but once in a newspaper article that was promptly ignored by all and sundry. This did not matter. We had our sacrificial goats. We had our men to whip into shamed submission and drive into the desert to appease the demons and soothe the gods. Because only men are capable of such heinous acts as ballistic assault jokes. And at the very least, only men shall be shamed for it. And besides, the crude jokes within the forum for women were probably posted by men anyway. Women are the light and the saviors and the holders and banner carriers of our shared morality. And don't you forget it, bucko. And the amount of hysteria surrounding this happening was such that I gave up on arguing my point that this was nothing but jokes. There were no reasoning with these people. There was no reason to be found, as the outrage machine went on generating outrage. There was no empathy to be found for the men who were shamed, vilified and threatened severely for telling jokes and nothing but jokes. The madness had begun. The sickness had eaten into the heart of the public, and the public demanded blood. Not one could argue why, nor could I argue against the points I brought up with anything but my hurt fifis. That people had all the right in the world to tell jokes, even when the jokes were offensive, did not matter. When I inquired as to whether or not followers of this moral outrage had ever told an offensive joke themselves, I was met with derailing and perplexed silence. Perceived moral superiority above all, and not one semblance of introspection or empathy. I might have told crude jokes, but these are worse. Meaning, I am clean and holier than thou, and how dare you imply that jokes are nothing but jokes, or that people are allowed to tell jokes which offend my delicate sensibilities. There is no reason to be found when a mob has decided to charge, and the speed at which the outrage comes and is generated leaves no room to stop and no room to think. Part of the group, the clique, the antil, the mob. People jump on the latest outrage without a second thought and are incapable of seeing more than their side. That is, the side of the mob, the hive mind mentality of a mass of worms burrowing through the ground. There is no room for thought, no room for anything but a split-second emotional reaction. In my more vengeful moments, I hope that they will have to face down the mob themselves one day, and that they will learn something from it. But they won't. Having to face down an outraged mob themselves, they will be the victims, and they will not learn anything, because they will already have forgotten the outraged mob they were part of, painted as a force fighting for good and nothing more. What we do unto others does not matter, and when others do unto us, it is evil and wicked. We have strayed so far from reason that madness is the only path left to tread. We have strayed so far from empathy, compassion and understanding of others that we paint the lack of empathy, compassion and understanding of others as empathy, compassion and understanding of others. We are so caught up in not offending that we do not care who or what we kill when looking to not offend. And, as stated before, someone will be offended, no matter what. What is left to do then? Kill all discourse. Censor all, lest someone, somewhere, gets their feelings hurt. That can be the only conceivable end result if all are to be treated equally in the unifying ideal of non-offense. No one must speak, lest someone gets offended. And my feelings are more important than your speech, your expression, your opinion. Only one opinion is valid, and that opinion is the one I hold. Because I, in my absolute grace and impeccable virtue, never offend, but hold the truth and nothing but the truth. This is what we are seeing in the current cultural climate. This is the path we are slip-sliding down, so comfortable and so bored and so devoid of any real struggles that the only battle left to fight is to fight for our right to not get our feelings hurt by someone whose opinion or sense of humor differs slightly from our own. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this ramble as well as my other ramblings. Please consider sharing, liking, subscribing and all that jazz. That would help the message, such as it is, be manspread far and wide. Take a look at the links down below as well, if you please. Catch you next time.